Warning, this video contains footage from the game Red Dead Redemption 2, which is an 18+ game. This video does not include any violence, swearing or guns and is family friendly. However, this is not trying to encourage younger viewers to play the game. Please enjoy the video, and if you want more, let me know in the comments below. Hello everyone, and welcome to my riding vlog. We're currently at the McFarlane Ranch in the northeast of New Austin, where Queasy is boarding 3 of her horses. I've come down to visit with my own horse Jericho, and we are actually planning to do a 5-day trail ride going from the ranch to Little Creek River and back again. This is my first time at the ranch, so let's get started with the day. It was a bright early morning on the McFarlane Ranch, and Queasy actually got the horses tacked up while I had to get my camera gear on. This is Jericho, my 6-year-old Turkoman stallion. You'll learn a little bit more about him as the day goes on. I decided to mount up in the little pen and do the warm-up in here because Queasy was warming up her new colt, and I didn't want either horses to be too distracted by each other. But when we started walking, he was quite tense and couldn't really find a stride, so I could tell the new environment was a little bit overwhelming and he overall seemed really agitated. I figured the small space wasn't helping, so I asked Queasy if it was okay to move into the big arena and see how he got on in there. He was still a little bit tense as I was working him. I'm not sure exactly what was putting him off. He was just throwing his head a lot and leading with his shoulder. There are actually trains that go by the ranch, and I could tell Jericho was weirded out by them, and he was just so distracted, he was barely listening to me at all. He can be a bit strong, and I really didn't want to fight him all day, so I tried being super patient. The situation got a bit worse when it started raining, and fun fact, Jericho hates the rain. So even though I tried to work him through it and get him used to the rain, he just wasn't listening to me at all. So after a while I just gave up and decided to wait with Queasy for the rain to stop. It did clear up after a while, and Queasy said she wanted to do some training with Martha, and he didn't mind the fog or the puddles, so we figured I could get some cool shots of her while Jericho watched so he knew everything was okay. So here's the little montage of that. When the weather cleared, I got back on and did some more trotting. At first, I was a little bit worried about the dust, and it was actually almost midday at that point, and it got really hot. But Jericho seemed to not mind at all. He actually did a lot better than earlier. He was a bit more focused, and I could tell he really liked doing the cantering. He also really took to Martha. They got on just fine, and usually Jericho is a bit of a leader and he likes to be in front, but in this section I didn't have to pull him back that much and he seemed quite comfortable and he really settled into the stride. As you can see, he's really focused on what I'm asking him, and he just seems to be enjoying himself a little more than he was this morning. It got a little bit too hot after a while, and we decided to put the horses in a nice cool stall while we went and grabbed some lunch. After lunch, it was far too hot to take the horses back out, and we spent the rest of the day doing chores like mucking out, feeding the horses, and packing our bags for the trip the next day. I mentioned it at the beginning, but we had finally decided definitely we were going to do a 5-day hack with just the two of us. We had to book some places to stay while on our mega hack, and we made sure we had all of the supplies for both us and the horses. We headed to bed once everything was planned and ready, and it was an understatement to say that I was incredibly excited for the journey ahead. We got up at 4 AM sharp and tacked the horses up. This is Threrin, Queasy's Mustang-bred mule, and he was going to be our heavyweight champion since he was carrying all of the packs. I was sleepily watching her warm Threrin up, as he was already packed with all the gear and she was making sure he was comfortable with all the weight and everything was going to stay put. Queasy has had him for a while, and when he isn't out hacking with her, he is helping around at the ranch here. I'm told he is an absolute sweetheart around everyone, including the rudest mares, so I had no fear him and Jericho wouldn't get along. I had to give Jericho a quick once over with the brush again since the stall was so dusty, and once I mounted up I did a basic warm up with him. He was way more focused today, and that made a lot of my nerves go away since this trip was going to be hard on the both of us, and I would prefer if we stick together as a team rather than work against each other. We finally set off around 6:45 AM. As we began walking, I just took a moment to look around at everything I had. My two best friends, Jericho and Queasy, the lovely cool morning, the sun on my face, and a wonderful journey ahead of me. I just felt so content at that moment, and I realised how truly lucky I was to have it all. I have never been so ready for a day as I was in that moment. However, Jericho felt I was far too relaxed and decided he wanted to lead the way. I am not a super confident rider, and sometimes I need to hang back and figure things out. So having a horse who throws himself headfirst at anything just so he can be in front doesn't always help. I've been trying to teach him to let other horses lead, but I know I have a lot more work to do on that. I had to pull him back quite a lot, and he just wanted to overtake Threrin, but I knew if I let him have his way, he would misbehave the whole trip. We eventually got to the river. This was actually something I was super nervous about because Jericho doesn't like the rain, so I didn't have high hopes that he would much like a large body of running water. I asked Queasy to cross first, thinking that Jericho's me first mindset would help. However, it was actually Threrin who didn't want to cross. For a horse who is super unbothered by most things, it was surprising he didn't like the river. Queasy almost couldn't get him into the water, and as you saw, he reared, but she has legs of steel, so Queasy wasn't going anywhere. Once Threrin had finally crossed, I moved out of the way to let a man come through, as I didn't want Jericho freaking out and hurting someone that I didn't even know. Funnily enough, Jericho crossed without issue. He seemed completely nonchalant about the whole thing, so I suppose I'd worried over nothing. After the crossing ordeal, it was a pretty smooth ride, so here are some cute highlights of the rest of that day. We got to Manzanita Post around 4 PM, and this is where we were staying for the night. I was so happy when I realised they had not one, Not 2, but 3 doggies. We settled the horses in and gave them some treats after a hard day's work. I'm actually really proud of Jericho since, other than wanting to lead quite a lot, he was really well behaved, especially at the river. This was the cabin we were staying in, and although it's not the most glamorous, it is definitely homey. Speaking of homey, it began to rain. We stuck the fire on and snuggled up with some hot chocolate, listened to the rain and had some really lovely deep chats. When the rain died down a little bit, we headed outside to a campfire under the stars. And that is the end of day 1 of our 5-day trail ride. If you would like to see the rest of our ride and all the fun stuff that happened, let me know in the comments below. So, I hope you guys enjoyed. Stay positive and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye!